So let's properly start it now. All right. So like, what is up, hustlers? Welcome to the first ever live stream for this channel. I'm going to be calling this the Midnight Hustle, not exactly because it's midnight, it's 9 p.m. here in Sydney, but because basically what I want to do is give back to you guys and just have a Q&A, quick chat, and answer some questions and talk about some growth strategies for Shopify dropshipping, for affiliate marketing, for e-commerce, for social media agencies, all that good stuff, and basically give you a personal touch and go over my background and what I'm doing at the moment, all that good stuff. So in the future, I might be going over some live reviews of stores, Shopify stores. And on top of that, I'll be pulling out 2 questions on Instagram. I'll be answering and pulling out a few more on this live chat. So let's get into the first question. The first question that I got is from Caroline, I believe her name is. And this is on Instagram. And her question is, basically, how can you white label dropshipping products? Because usually it's reserved for Amazon FBA. Everyone knows about white labeling Amazon FBA products, but a lot of people don't realize that we can also do this for dropshipping. It is a very important step to the game of dropshipping. So let's go specifically to a question here. She says, it's a pretty long question actually. Hey, Ethan, as you probably can tell by my profile, I'm a small business who's just starting up. I watched your videos on how DHgate was a better alternative to AliExpress, but at the moment I'm using AliExpress. I've contacted many suppliers, or my name on the packaging, and how do I go about doing this? So the answer is yes, you definitely can white label your dropshipping products. You can even do that on AliExpress. You don't need to go through Alibaba and wholesale suppliers. You can actually do it through AliExpress. The first thing is setting up, and I always preach this actually. The absolute first thing is setting up supplier relationships. So when I say supplier relationships, what I mean by that is reaching out to the suppliers on AliExpress and just having a chat with them, because a lot of people just literally buy products off them, drop ship it, and like that's it. Like there's no contact with your suppliers. Supplier relationships are so important, particularly on Alibaba, but also as well with AliExpress. All you need to do is basically just say, hey, like, do you do certain do you do white labeling for products? If not, just move on to the next supplier. And more often than not, you actually find that they do services beyond just drop shipping. So I have done this before in the past, but not to a huge extent. But there are a lot of suppliers who will say, yes, I can white label your products. That's when you go into the negotiation phase. It's sort of like Alibaba. If you've already done this, or if you've ever done Amazon FBA, it's a very similar process. And there's a few options here. So the supplier relationship is the first option, and that's a good way to get into it because they can white label your product first and then, and then drop ship it. Of course, the profit margins are going to decrease because there is a cost to white labeling, obviously, but it is a very efficient model if you've found a winning product. So once you find a winning product, white label it, discuss it with your supplier, and you can take it from there. Now, you definitely want to make sure that you get a test product first. A chance that the white labeling is going to be really bad. Logos are going to look crappy. You need to send them the right PNG, the right vector file, all that good stuff. So that is going to take some while. So you don't want to promise your customers anything up front. And the second option is, of course, Alibaba and DHgate. But now we're going into the wholesale space. You can either wholesale this yourself, or again, you can ask the suppliers on Alibaba and DHgate whether they drop ship, and some of them do. If you want more information that, you can check out my video around how to use AliExpress alternatives, because I do go over DHgate as a dropshipping company, and they're pretty good. And the final option is to bring it in-house. Now, this one's really effective if you've found a winning product. So how this works is it's streamlined and simple. You essentially go through the same process as you would go through Amazon FBA. So go into Alibaba, find that product that's winning for you, and then order it in bulk. And then once you order in bulk, obviously you discuss how to white label it, and that's going to be an additional cost. Once you get that all white labeled, bring it all over to where you live, obviously. But before that, you need to. This is how I would do it. You need to talk to a fulfillment company, because more often than not, you're not going to have space for like 1,000, 2,000 products in your apartment or house or wherever you live, and it is a pain in the ass to fulfill all those orders yourself, especially if you already have a winning Shopify dropshipping store. So, essentially, what you want to do is bring these products in house, but bring it to actually like a mini FBA for yourself. It's pretty cool. So that's my long-winded question. Yes, it's completely possible and you can still drop ship. You just need to leverage the right suppliers, or you can leverage a fulfillment company locally. But of course, that's going to be more expensive. So if you have the profit margin to do that, definitely consider it. Cool. So there's a few questions coming in, and I will look at these questions in a second. But the second question that I got on Instagram was, how do you deal with returns when it comes to drop shipping? And that's a good question and a very frequently asked question. So how do I deal with returns when it comes to drop shipping? This is from my personal experience. Inevitably, when you drive a lot of sales, you're probably going to get about like 5 to 10% in returns. And unfortunately, about 1 to 2%, or maybe a little bit more, of those orders or those returns are going to be like scam returns. So, in other words, people don't have an issue with the product, they just want their money back. This is strife throughout any e commerce business. So, it's not just unique to drop shipping. People just douchebag sometimes and they just want to get a little bit scammy with people. But hey, what can you do? And unfortunately, it's just like 1 or 2% of orders, but this depends again on your personal experience. So how I deal with it is, firstly, good customer service. A lot of people underestimate good customer service. You really need to treat your customers with respect, no matter what, even if it sounds a little bit fishy and they just want their money back. Uh, Again, establish that rapport with them, reply back to them, and ask them the question. What's wrong with your product? What's faulty? How can I help? Those questions will help nut out the scenario first, and then you get a better understanding of, okay, is this like a legit return, or is this a scam? Either way, you're probably going to have to deal with the return anyway. But how I deter returns, and you don't really want to deter returns, but here's a good way to suss it out. In your refund and exchange policy at the footer of your Shopify store, you definitely want to call out that customers need to pay for shipping if a return is going to be made. Now, when you quote this and like link it out in that correspondence with your customer, they're more often than not, they're going to be like, don't worry about it, especially if it's a low ticket item. Excuse me. That is going to stop customers from annoying you with a return or return request. If they're still pushing for it, then really just cover the cost. Look, you're gonna potentially lose out on a bit of profit here, but that's fine. Like, again, like I said, I received about maybe like 5 to 10% in returns overall. But it's better to give them good customer service up front and return that product, and then they might become a repeat customer later on. Especially if they receive really good customer service from your store and you create that brand, then there's no reason why they might come back. So that's how I would do it. Another pro quick tip for you guys is, if you do receive a return and you do buy another product, okay, so I've got two tips here actually. The first tip is, go ahead and raise a dispute with AliExpress. And if you explain yourself properly and say, hey, my customer had this certain problem with the product, it was like to that supplier on AliExpress, raise a dispute, and more often than not, they're going to they're going to refund the entire amount to you anyway. So basically, you're not losing any profit. So that's a good pro tip. The second tip is, if you do give them the refund and it is a low ticket item, I would actually suggest giving them a free gift. Now, this psychologically is a huge like surprise. So not only do they get the refund or the product again, they're going to get a little surprise from you. So, for example, let's just say you have a fishing niche, right? And within the fishing niche, they're asking for a return in I don't know, like a fishing rod, let's just say. So you send them out again the fishing rod, but on top of that, you send them out a free fishing line, which is going to cost you like I don't know, $2 US, and that's barely any expense. But psychologically, that's going to leave a big impact on the customer, and again, that's going to push them to become even though into with your product and with your brand. So that's a good way in flipping problems around, and turning that customer into an angry customer all the way to a return customer. And that's worked in the past, and I've seen it in action personally. So that's my recommendation, Alberto. So those are the two questions that I wanted to get answered on Instagram. I'm going to go through the questions now. There's quite a few questions here. So everyone's still telling me where they're from. There's a lot of Facebook. There's a lot of Facebook questions here. And I get a lot of Facebook questions actually, and I'm gonna do a Facebook series, a tutorial series later on down the track. But I want you guys to understand that Facebook, guys, is a complicated beast. There is no one answer to any Facebook issue. And I know that you see gurus on YouTube telling you, hey, just stick with the $5 strategy and it's all going to work out. It really doesn't work that way. Like I said, I work in the digital marketing industry. So I know for a fact that it is there's lit specialists that spend days and days just creating ads, optimizing ads. So I just know how complicated Facebook ads get. So I'd rather do a video tutorial series and give you guys some free knowledge up front, rather than saying, hey, this is the one solution, this is how you're going to fix your issue, when that'd be a blatant lie, right? So I'm not going to answer Facebook questions right now, but I will go through another question. I'm testing winning products for others. This is what Tony says. Tony says I'm testing winning products for others, but not winning for me. Okay, this is another this is another Facebook ad question. To find the winning product, is it better to test original products? Do not copy the others. Hot products. Okay, so that's a legitimate question. So basically, what Tony's asking is, should I test winning products, or should I test new products? So let's take a step back from that. Actually, here's my recommendation, and here's what I've recommended all the time, ever since my first video on YouTube. Select a niche that you're passionate about. This can be a hobby, this can be an interest, this can be even something that you think will be profitable. But you want to make sure that you stick with that niche. Now, within that niche, you want to do a bit of research. Okay, so what I mean by research is look at the products that are winning. You can easily do this through Facebook search, do this through the spy tools that I talked about, so Shopify Exchange. You can also do this through things like Pexter, and that's a whole nother topic in itself, product research, which I won't be going into today. But I would split test it. So I would allocate some money into winning products. But here's my experience with winning products. They are already super saturated. So I personally don't recommend it, but it is worth putting $10, $15 to test a few products that are already winning, because it's harmless. But more often than not, you're going to see that I'd say like 95% of the time, you're not going to win with those winning products, because it is super saturated. As soon as a product is winning and you see a lot of Facebook ads on it, even if you do a simple Facebook search, you're going to see so many different ads. And these are organic posts that are advertising these products, and it's really hard to compete when there are so many people already advertising that certain product. And mind you, these aren't dark posts. So when I say dark posts, they're Facebook ad manager posts that you can't see, that you can't search for. But if there's already a whole bunch of organic posts about that product, then more often than not, it's really hard to break through. So what I recommend is, yes, Tony, don't go for hot winning products. Just go on AliExpress and just spend a day looking for products within your niche that you personally think are interesting, and then shape some marketing around that product, and go ahead and set up 10 products, $5-10 each, and just see how they go. And then from there you can niche down, and then break down the ad sets. And that again is another whole another video in itself. But that's how I would personally approach, I guess, product selection, and Facebook ad testing, at the bottom line anyway. So that's a super simple way to do it. So yeah, I hope that answered your question, Tony. Like I said again, I will be getting into Facebook ad strategies more deeply later on, but I just want to answer some few questions here. So, hey, Byron from Sydney. Good to see people from Sydney. Hamza, I get a lot of questions on Instagram. If you got questions, just throw it into the live chat here. It's kind of hard to keep up to the Instagram questions I get sometimes, and sometimes people get really pissed off. They're like, Ethan, man, like, where have you been? I waited like 3 weeks for a response, and I apologize. I know I've been super busy, like between working the digital marketing job, digital marketing manager, doing my dropshipping stuff, working on this YouTube channel, and having some sort of a personal life. It's pretty hard to keep up with Instagram messages. So look, I'm going to wrap up this live stream here. I know it's a really short one, but I just wanted to keep it super sweet and short. I want to do this like basically potentially every Wednesday night. So that's like Australian Eastern Standard Time. And I want to answer more questions next time and potentially start going through some live reviews of Shopify stores. And so we're going to share a screen basically and go through these stores so you can all learn about my perspective on certain aspects of with me. So as always, guys, thanks for watching and keep on hustling.